Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to host this Fireside chat with Mr. P.S. Jayakumar, MD and CEO of Bank of Baroda, and Mr. Vaidyanathan, MD and CEO of IDFC First Bank. Both of them require no introductions, and therefore I'm going to get straight to the point. Let me first begin by congratulating you both. I think both of you have been courageous in taking forward the merger agenda in the Indian banking space. But let's get some facts straight. Mr. Vaidyanathan, you basically got a bank license by this merger. You had a pretty cushy life, if I were to say, the ICICI Bank, where you were on the board at the age of 38, and then you took a series of steps to create huge wealth. Thereafter, you decided to get into banking. So it will be really key to understand what was your motivation when you decided to get into this merger.
Well, as is by now widely known, when I left ICICI Bank, I had only one agenda. At that time, I saw Mr. Rana Kapoor and Mr. Uday Kotak getting banking licenses in 2004. Then I used to think to myself, saying that why don't we go to RBI and apply for banking license? Then I knew it's difficult, no individual can get it like that. So, but I discovered this model that you can take a stake in an NBFC and make the NBFC a complete retail NBFC and build only such things in the NBFC which will automatically qualify for a bank. This was the only theory. So first thing, the NBFC was a foreign exchange business. I shut it down. There was a broking business. I shut it down. There was a wealth management business. I shut it down. There's a mall management business. I shut it down. I only kept financing small entrepreneurs for 20,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees. And for 8 years, I stuck with one model of financing small entrepreneurs and consumers. We'll talk about it. Then, that's why this merger is very important, because around 2014, 15, 16, I kept going back to the RBI, formally, informally, meeting senior people, and requesting, can I get a banking license? Now, one senior person once told me, can you take a small finance bank? I said, listen, I've already opened 230 locations in India. Can I get a full bank license? So this discussion was happening more informally. So basically, to me, I was consistent about only one plan to get a banking license. So the merger came across, I was just very happy. Whatever it is, I just went for it.
And we'd like to hear more at some point of time later in this chat to understand whether have you got what you really were looking for. Mr. Jayakumar, you probably are leading the biggest reform agenda for the government, which is the PSB Consolidation. It has been in talks for probably over decades, and you are the first one to bring it home. You also have led a very checkered career, and at this stage of your life, you are now getting 2 banks into Bank of Baroda. I just want to understand from you, what is your motivation as you lead the Bank of Baroda into this merger with Dena Bank and Vijay Bank?
Actually, you must give credit to Vaidyanathan. He doesn't like to be called Vaidhi. We used to call him those in the Citibank days. That he was the first person to call the problem of NBFC. And he was fairly clear that unless he merged into a bank or bought a bank or whatever, he would not be able to grow. This was much, much before the NBFC issue started. I remember him talking to him, we're good friends. And he would say, this is an objective we have to achieve for these reasons. And I think it's a terrific foresight, if you will. See, from my perspective, the point is that it's a part of the reform process. The government is engineering. Sometime in 2017, there was a discussion, fairly serious discussion about Bank of Baroda merging with one another bank, which I don't want to name. And after a considerable amount of thinking over it and being stressed about it, we went back to the government and told them, see, Bank of Baroda itself is in the process of transformation. And I don't think we are at any point, at this point of time, ready to look forward for any kind of amalgamation. And the government, to be fair, took that in the right way, the right stride, accepted the position. And then over the course of the next 1 year, the transformation journey that we went moved quite nicely along. And so a point came when we felt that we could participate in this consolidation process. That broadly is a background, the benefits and all of that stuff are well known. But there's nothing personal in it for me, like Vaidyanathan. I happen to be in a place at a point of time when the stars align for the consolidation process to take place.
Okay, so here we have probably a person deeply motivated personally to take on mergers and integrations, and a person who found himself at the point of juncture in history where he's leading the first public sector bank consolidation. I think while we will get into the nitty-gritties of consolidation, for the audience here, this is probably the best panelist you can get. One is on the private sector banking side, who is kind of leading the way and showing the path of what can be done in the private sector, creating value. And here we have Mr. Jayakumar, who is leading the entire public sector bank consolidation space. And as per my understanding, both of you are probably role models for the industry. Let me start with a personal note first, just to understand your energy levels. So when you knew you were in this merger, what did you tell your family and how did they react to it? Or was it just another day in the office?
Okay. Yeah, in my case, this motivation or the need to say that I need a banking license for my IDFC was well known to my family. So I can just say it meant a lot to me. It just meant a lot to me. I was just thrilled. You will not believe this. I met Dr. Rajiv Lal sometime in November when he gave me a call and said that he want to merge. And I said, okay, let's meet. And within half an hour, we were at Four Seasons. And then we said, okay, what valuation, how will it go? And we said, okay, let's look at the ticket price, it is what it is. And then no negotiation, nothing. Basically, I just, from my side at least, it was a straight yes. So, I mean, in the sense, of course, we brought it to the board and we discussed options and we thought through what else could we be doing, should we be applying for a license directly, should we merge, then why not this bank, why not that bank? We did, as a professional institution, did all that. But to answer your question straight, for me it's a straight yes, and that tells you how much it means to me.
So I would say to you, as far as the amalgamation of Bank Board and the two banks, the and Vijay is concerned, there was a considerable amount of work for a couple of months with the ministry, permutation, combination, what would work and what would not work. And so it was in some sense a thoughtful exercise as opposed to just getting a collection of banks together and visualizes the pluses and the minuses and all of that activity. On a personal note, I just want to tell you, nobody in my family takes me seriously, so it didn't make any difference, except for the one limited fact. The day the government called to say, you want to come in the morning, we're going to have this press conference. I was with my two sons in Goa, and that was the first evening we went together. And then it was all about how to get them back home to Bombay while I had to go back to Delhi. So that's how it was.
And since you asked a personal note, so the day we, it is obviously top secret all the while, and about 10 or 15, maybe 5 or 6 days, it was kept top secret for 2 months. It was the quickest deal done, really a very quick deal, because the needs were pretty clear. IDFC Bank wanted retailization, I want a banking license, or matched very well. Very secret. But the day the news broke, at least in our building, all people, all neighbors, they all came home and they were distributing sweets, and it was just a very joyous and festive occasion that day.
So clearly a lot of expectations, and let's get to that point now. Every merger is touted to be value enhancing. In fact, the theme of this session is how value-enhancing mergers will transform landscape in Indian banking. But Mr. Vaidyanathan, you have been declaring losses for the last 4 quarters. And Mr. Jayakumar, your share prices are down by 33% since last September. Are these mergers really value-enhancing? What are your shareholders asking you? You do a lot of these analyst meets. I'm sure a lot of them are tracking you very closely. What have they been asking you? What has been your narrative?
Okay. So I think three key themes that come from discussion with the shareholders. The first is that how are we going to ensure there is no distraction and continue with the growth story? And so as we completed the first quarter, well, the erstwhile Vaidyanathan Bank had to kind of adapt themselves to some of the new models. The Bank of Baroda's part of the business continued to grow as it did its 5 previous quarter at 15% plus or something like that. So generally the question around the growth story. The second question they ask us is with respect to expense management. What are the synergies? How will it happen? And how do we take it forward? And the third question is around the competitive position and how is that we're going to be closer to the best in class, or whether this merger itself, amalgamation itself would be distracted in the pursuit of that agenda. So broadly, I would say these are the three themes that usually end up getting discussed. As far as the share price are concerned, it's probably unrelated to this whole thing. We're going through a bunch of things in the external market which is happening, which is all impacting the share prices. And this is a long haul story. It's not a one quarter activity. So over the course of the next 18 to 24 months, the benefits will flow through and reflect in the stock prices.
So Ashish, I have a responsibility for you. So Jayakumar, first of all, speaks in monosyllables. 80% people don't understand what he speaks because he speaks to himself. And number 3, he keeps the mic far away from his mouth. So my request to you that when you see him doing that, please catch him. Okay, now with regard to your conversation about how we reported losses 4 quarters in a row, and I take the comment seriously. The thing that sometimes people look at the time of merger, they see what have we got off it if the bank is making losses. I think it's a very short-term, myopic way of looking at it. I believe in India, a banking license is an unbelievably precious resource. It's a sacred resource because it is the trust of the public being handed over to you when they give you a banking license or they give you a merger approval. So when people think of Capital First, a bank that is posting profits of 40% per year, year on year for 8 years at a stretch, they really don't, or even shareholders of Capital First may not know what the situation would have been had the merger not happened today in the context of how the IDFC crisis played out in the last 1 year. Now, therefore, in my opinion, I don't look at the losses, I look at what we have achieved as part of the merger and our ability to raise public deposits. I must say that we're raising close to about 5,000 crores of public deposits, whether CASA or retail term deposits, every quarter now. I mean, imagine as a Capital First trying to raise 5,000 crores of public money or 4,000 crores a quarter, it's impossible. So therefore, what it has done is, if you have a fundamentally good model where we believe we can finance small entrepreneurs and consumers of ticket sizes as low as 20,000 rupees or up to say 2 crore rupees. The demand is, let me say, unlimited in India. All it needs is fuel, and that fuel comes from a bank. Now, as far as IDFC Bank is concerned, it is pretty clear that infrastructure financing as a standalone domestic financial institution doing infrastructure was really going nowhere, and it's, I think, with the foresight of Dr. Lal that he saw that through. So that need was also pretty clear. So I think the merger should be seen in the context of what it can create and the longevity of a great institution can create, and not in the context of the losses.
So I think we will come back to that question, and I think for audience as well, people who are thinking about M&A, some of these will be the most relevant levers to think about. You mentioned your motivation to get to a bank, maybe CASA, deposits. Though I need to understand from you, I mean, IDFC was a wholesale bank. So you were a lender, they were a lender. I don't know what you got out of that, but we'll come to that. But Mr. Jayakumar, you got 40 million customers and 4,000 branches. How do you, I mean, he will give probably half his wealth to get that. How are you making use of that?
I think early stages, but what I'm happy about is the first quarter after the merger we posted a profit, notwithstanding harmonization, accounting entries and those kinds of stuff. And so that part of it is moved well. The second thing I think I'm quite happy about is that the entire thing has been, for a variety of reasons and for different people contributing to it, has been a fairly noiseless, seamless exercise. You've not heard anything negative, and I hope we won't hear anything negative from anybody, whether it is from any stakeholders. That process has gone on quite well. Now we are now working through obviously the aspects relating to the network optimization, if I have a term that we can use, which relates to how do we think about these 9,300 branches we have collectively, as also the regional offices and a variety of things that are there, and how do we build on that. Essentially, the story we have is very simple, that the amalgamation gives us broadly what we call as breadth and depth. Breadth because of the distribution, and the fact that both Dena and Vijaya Bank and Bank of Baroda complement nicely in a geographic sense. The strength of Bank of Baroda in certain areas versus the relative strength of Vijaya Bank, all of that kind of adds together. So there is this whole network optimization part that is under play. The second part of it is what we call as depth. Essentially that if you went back, we had one general manager, for example, facing against a corporate bank. Today we have separate segments looking at financial institution, looking at private companies, looking at public companies, looking at global companies. And just as the same way with every segment of the business, we have got deeper management. And that over a period of time will play itself beautifully because there's an opportunity to genuinely diversify and build depth into relationship. So I think that's one big advantage, which the depth and the breadth story is really the story that is going to play itself over in the course of the forthcoming future.
Fair enough. So maybe I'll talk about synergies. Every merger, and consultants are famous for that. We come with a whole idea of mergers and what synergy levers you can use. There are both cost synergies and revenue synergies. Cost synergies are now in here, but often very painful. Revenue synergies can be done, but they have a bit of a longer horizon. So how do you think about creating value from the merger? How do you think about these synergies? Where do you think leakages can happen, and how do you arrest them?
It always starts from what do we really want to build. By merely putting together two banks, and if you let everything stay the way it is, you can be Santa Claus, you can be very happy with everyone, nobody lost the jobs, no changes, and finally just walk. I can guarantee you nothing will happen to the stock price, no market cap creation will happen, nothing will happen, life will be yet another day, only shareholders will see new branding. So therefore, to think through what do we really want to create. Now, at that stage, in our case, it was always pretty clear that we could not be in the zone of the big boys, of where Mr. Jayakumar is there. After the combined merger, his CASA is some 3,50,000 crores. SBI, I don't know where it is, maybe 5 times the number. ICICI Bank, 2.5 lakh crores, maybe HDFC Bank, 3 lakh crores. People are talking of that order of magnitude of CASA. Our CASA at the time of merger was 6,500 crores. So really, we have to therefore play this game to our strategy to say, look, if this is all my cost of funds is, then this is what I'm going to do. So it starts from there. Now with regard to synergy, there are two types I have noticed. One is the non-invasive one, and one is the invasive one. Non-invasive one is you figure out all your vendors and partners to whom you work with, and then say that can we club it together and get a better rate. You can go to an airline partner and say, look, I was flying 20,000 miles yesterday, now I'm going to fly 40,000 miles, what is my rate? You can go to a vendor and say that, look, you are charging me 20 rupees for a sort of contact point verification, it's 18 there, can you make it 18 together? So these are synergies that come in a non-invasive manner, and this is something that whole where there is a public sector consolidation, private sector consolidation, people have to do, and it's a long list we can go after it. Then there comes the invasive ones, which I call the invasive ones. Invasive ones come when you got to force someone to report to somebody else. There are two CFOs. There are two, heads of certain businesses. Someone's got to go. Or there's a team of people of maybe 1,400 people, you need only 1,000. Now, how to deal with that situation? So we deal with both kinds of things. I think in the private sector, it's easy to deal with the latter. Nothing is easy in life, it's all unpopular stuff, but you can deal with it. And I think that's where I think Mr. Jayakumar particularly has a difficult job. I think, I know he will deny the issue, but I think he really has a challenge, at least on the invasive part at least.
So I think when we started this journey, one of the things was to build a narrative or really understand what does this merger mean to us, all of us, the three banks. And so we did work very hard on relooking at the business model and then coming together with a 5-year plan, which on one level set our near-term objectives, and at the other level gave a broader goal, if you will, for all of us who are working in these institutions. So we're just working to those plans. It's all fairly buttoned up. The cost side synergies are in the short term are coming through some of the easy things like putting people together in the same premises and a variety of expenses, cost savings that we have got. So that part of it is playing out well. On the revenue side, it's really about more products to customers, especially with the Bank of Baroda with its overseas branches and a much broader product suite. We could bring them to the customers of the other two banks. There are some learnings from the other two banks which were significant, which we could bring back to the customers of Bank of Baroda. But essentially, we started with the objective that we will go with the best of breed of everything. And when we move, we'll move to the go-to process. So all of that paid out. And also, there are other things like we have a fairly well-developed back office operation in GIFT City, which seamlessly takes over all the work. For example, all the debit cards of all of the banks now, of course, one institution, are all done at the same point of time, centrally done. So I think both the cost and the revenue side synergies are beginning to play off, except that you've got to see them happen quarter after quarter. And it takes time to build many of these things, but to me, those synergies will happen. They're fairly obvious, and there's no reason why they wouldn't play themselves out.
Mr. Vaidyanathan said you don't have to deal with hard stuff.
I think one of the aspects, particularly with all public sector banks are concerned, and I guess we are no different, is the fair amount of retirement that's happening every month after month. I think we are probably would be losing 3.5% of the workforce in this financial year and the next financial year. And the other thing is that if you look at the absolute number of people that are working in Bank of Baroda now, there are probably about 85,000 of us. But you take any other bank of similar size in the private sector, they in fact are larger. The difference in large part is because the private sector banks have got a very large sales force that's out in the marketplace and getting clients. So for us also, we deal with a similar situation. So fair amount of retraining and all of that stuff essentially means that we're not necessarily, because of this excessive people, we have to let them go. And we've got to take some hard steps. If you didn't take it, it's because we are very softy guys, so the government would let us go. All of that stuff. Just purely from a national perspective, there is a self-correction that is underway. And purely from a national perspective, looking at the younger people, getting them to go out in the market, be front-end sales-driven, and bring the newer set of products that are there. There is so much to do. And much as we might be large, we, in fact, in many of the segments, we have trivial market share. And therefore, there is a huge amount of opportunity to go and build on those market share. So I would think, again, when we come back at it and we play ourselves against being a, what shall I call it, a broad-based bank, there are a lot of segments we are not present today, and we are putting our energy behind them. And so it's not about excess people, it's just about how you kind of reorganize the whole arrangement to take the benefit of such a large market we occupy. With all this amalgamation that is done, we still are 23% of the size of State Bank of India. So, everything is related.
I want to add to that actually, because Jaya's right, and we do that all the time. Where you have people in the process of merger, you have excess, the first attempt, and most of the time it works, is to actually redeploy. Because even in the areas we operate in, we have not adequately penetrated. And I'll give an example. We were having a business of providing micro ATMs. and we had close to about 300 people in the team, and they were doing the BC work. Now, these were BCs directly managed by the bank, not through corporate structure. For some reason, it just had lots of issues with regard to AML and cash and and so on, and reconciliation and all that stuff. So we were talking of migrating the micro ATM business to a corporate BC, and now we have these 3 people who are available. That doesn't mean that the departments were all going to go. They all moved over to the liabilities team, and next morning they started opening bank accounts. So this is absolutely the way to go, and I think it just brings a lot more confidence in the process to people during the merger.
We will have 2 rounds of audience questions. So after this question, I'm going to open up for 2 or 3 questions, and then we will carry it forward. So if you have any burning questions, now is the time to start thinking about it. Merger is a long process. And at the end of the day, the buck stops at both of you for your respective mergers. I want to know how much time do you spend in integration effort and how much time do you spend in running your business as usual? What kind of structures, what kind of governance structures, overlay structures you have put in place to help you, what delegations you do. So I just want to understand from your seat, what does it take to really get this done while you have to run an institution which is pretty large and humming?
See, as you know, time never stops, business never stops. Quarterly reporting for a listed company, the markets doesn't stop, competition doesn't stop, evolution doesn't stop, nothing stops us. And at the same time, we have to do merger. So mergers are undoubtedly very stressful period. It is basically managing a project. That is why we established something called a project management office. And the project management office has something called a integration management head. And the integration management head then puts together certain streams. We set up a work stream for integrating IT. There's another work stream for integrating HR. Another work stream for integrating customer service. Another integration team for managing policy. Another integration team for so on. So every department is merged. Now you take representatives from both sides and make committees out of that, and then that team start figuring out how, because no one person can think for the whole bank. So it's a management office. The second thing is that how do you bring trust in these teams? Because undoubtedly, if 2 firms are merged, the head of one of the firms is going to become the boss. So there can always be doubts in people's minds whether the decisions being taken through the merger process are being fair, are the right people being kept in the right place, are people being put out for political reasons, or they had alliances the wrong way, or they really deserve to be superseded by another person. And then these are complexities you definitely come across hundreds of them day in, day out. The way I deal with this, or at least I dealt with this thus far for the last year or so, is to actually establish in everyone that, look, I'm everybody's friend and I'm no one's friend. Basically, that for me, the institution comes first, the customer comes first, may the best person take the job, because the success of the institution in the future is important, and it is not about who got the particular job. So by repeatedly saying it and living it continuously with people, I think in our case, we definitely got a lot of success on this front in terms of trust of people.
How much time do you spend between integration versus running?
I have to be honest, actually, this was, I did not delegate this to the another level in that sense. We have an IMO, but I ran the steering committee. I sat practically in every committee meeting about all of these broad pictures. And I ran the merger myself, in the sense I was heading it at every stage. I just thought it's too important to delegate. In fact, I kept aside the regular day-to-day work to run on autopilot basis or have a soft touch on it, but the integration I ran myself.
See, I think for us, I think we took the benefit of the time that was there from the time the merger was announced, the time they actually took place, primarily because of the various legal processes that are there. And we had an excellent working relationship between the 3 of us, that is Kanan, Shekhar, myself, and Shankar Narayanan. And therefore, we were able to get the organizations together, so to say. So that's been one aspect of it. The second thing is, The number of executive directors that we have been thoughtfully put in place. Kichi is from Dena Bank, Murli Ramaswamy is from Vijaya Bank, Sengupta is from our system. So with the result that there is a fair amount of understanding of the people who are working there, and also sense of comfort for everybody that they have somebody to whom they can quite quickly relate to. We have the classical process of the PMO and all of that stuff. Those are on textbook processes relating to integration. Frankly, I spend less time on the detail because there are better people in the bank who can take care of it. I spend most of my time in communicating and reaching out and talking about the larger pictures. And I would think the time that I spend now is extended so that I'm not spending any less time on the business as I was doing before. And sometimes those kind of costs you have to take for the short term so that you're able to straddle what you were doing before, coupled with some of the new things that emerge on account of the particular circumstance.
I just want to add to that. In our case, what we did was senior leaders. In our case, almost leading to the merger about 3 or 4 months, we broadly knew what the new team's going to look like. So we took senior leaders, put them in the jobs, and then said that this is your department, your portfolio, you're going to run the shop, you integrate it. So you can provide communication, you can provide direction, but people at those operating levels of senior people and high quality people, frankly, we are a really fantastic set of people who are running it at 2 levels, and those teams took this way forward.
Fantastic. Great to see how the 2 leaders are leveraging their respective strengths. Are there any questions in the audience? Yes. Okay, I think. Okay, it's a serious question then. Okay. Why does that question come to you? But one is a private sector bank, one is a public sector bank. Probably it's a. Okay, maybe we'll take that at the break. Any other questions? Okay, but the gentleman has raised an interesting question here, and that brings me to the next set of questions. Do you think it's a good idea for PSBs to merge? Do you think with the current dialogue that is going on, it seems more mergers are on the anvil? What do you think will be the final end state for public sector banks? Let's start with you, Mr. Vaidyanathan.
Okay, that's interesting one. Jaya says you can say what you want to say. Okay, I get the point. Now, first of all, I think the current path of merger between the state-owned banks is definitely a good thing because of the kind of synergies that can be created in the branch co-location. After all, it's taxpayers' money. But we are all aware that the government is working on that path, and we are all grateful, really grateful to Mr. Jayakumar for spearheading this and making one fantastic such model integration that he has done. Now, my sense is that this is just a start because we still need some banking system to continue to supply the kind of credit, banking system to raise the kind of equity that is needed to take us to a $5 trillion economy. So if state-owned banks consolidate and there is no new supply of banks, how do we become a $5 trillion economy? So I would say therefore that we do need back maybe another 15, 20 more private sector banks coming to the country who got to expand banking. So I think that's my personal view that we will need more banks from the private sector getting banking licenses.
And about public sector?
State Bank, I think it's pretty clear that there are great banks like State Bank of India and Bank of Baroda and a few other banks who are just fantastic. They can live a long life with themselves. But there are so many of the regional, smaller, state-owned banks. I think they have a challenge on skills, and I think where there is merger and reskilling is to be done.
I think the consolidation story has been, rather the consolidation agenda has been here for a long time. It's just that in the last, as a part of the last thrust of the reform process, the first round of consolidation, starting with the State Bank of India and its subsidiaries, and then following up with the merger of the three bank getting together, the amalgamation is taking place. And looking into it, it does look that there will be further consolidation with building, larger institutions. But the focus with respect to different markets needs to continue. And therefore, we are seeing different form of financial institutions that are there to serve these customers, whether it is a small bank, whether it's a private sector bank, it is the fintech companies, the new class NBFCs. So I think the financial sector is large and will continue to need diverse and special people. But there is a fair amount of consolidation expectation, and that's the articulated policy of the government as well. So I think we should see some more of that happening.
You mentioned
I also think the fact that this process has moved quite smoothly with us, and the experiences so far has been quite positive in the way it's been played out for the benefit of the institution and the customers. I think builds a strong case to continue to look at such opportunities.
And I think that deserves absolute appreciation for the way this consolidation has been led. You have a question? Yes, Mr. Kansali.
Should the future consolidation be positioned as strategic or compulsion?
Should the future consolidation be positioned as
I think both of you have sounded very well that the future consolidation should happen. Should it be strategic or should it be out of a compulsion? Because when you talk out of compulsion, there's so much of uncertainty in the markets. I think both of you have brought the strategic benefits. So why it can't be positioned as a strategy? That's what I mean.
I think it's a great point actually, and I think the way consolidation is going on in India today, I think it's indeed strategic. I think for the state-owned system, probably it's many governance reasons and consolidation is happening. In the case of IDFC Bank and Capital First, there's a straight synergy benefit. It was for the blind to see. I think therefore that if the purpose is clear, then it is great. I agree with you. If the purpose is not clear, it will be a pretty muddled journey. Mr. Jayakumar?
So I would say to you that we hope to pull this through efficiently, and if that happens, and I hope it happens, it will happen. Then there's no particular reason why our board may not say, why don't we look at one more round of consolidation to get access to markets which presently are not fully covered. That may take 12 months, 18 months, but I think success would further strengthen and start thinking about non-organic growth as also a form of building market shares and capabilities.
Okay, I'll just ask one question and then we'll take the last question there. Look, while we are talking about merger and acquisition from outside, they will almost look like takeovers. You took over IDFC, and Mr. Jayakumar, you almost took over Dena and Vijaya. I know it was a merger, but you took over. That could be the feeling. You can't avoid that feeling. How do you deal with this feeling of taking over?
First of all, it was a merger, and I don't think I don't see it in any other way. Obviously, if two entities are merging, and I become the MD and CEO, and if I was the MD and CEO of Capital First, it merged, maybe it looks like that. But what have we effectively done from the shareholders' point of view? From the shareholders' point of view, the stocks are swapped. Now, I understand the secretness of the question, but I can just say that the people in the organization have to see a specific value in the merger, and all actions have to be aligned with that value. If that is done, then nobody feels like a takeover merger, it is a merger. I'll give an example. In IDFC Bank erstwhile, our borrowing cost was 7.5% and lending rate was, say, 9.5%. In Capital First, our borrowing cost was 8.5% and lending rate was 16.5%. So in the merger, all of Capital First liabilities are being replaced with the bank's liabilities, And all the loans of IDFC Bank over a period of time, barring some segments, are going to be replaced with capital first loans. Now, it's a merger because you put the assets of capital first and liabilities of the bank. Now, what do you want to call it? A takeover, you want a merger? I don't know what you want to call it.
I was asking more from the HR angle and the leadership angle.
From the HR angle, I really believe it's a question of creating trust. I think I believe that when we communicate straight to people and rather sincerely, people get the truthfulness and the spirit of it.
So I think I would say to you this way that after defining a common purpose, which we did once we went through the new business model, it's all about communication. The more we are out there, the more we speak, the more we deal with the fears and the concerns, less these issues become. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is making sure that placements and roles are given without regard to the predecessor's organization, but based on merit. And that would become an important objective in itself. So that helps a lot. So people see that as a kind of a fair play. So I think the combination of adequate amount of communication. The third thing is best of breed, that people sit together in a group, look at the three products or the three institutions and then say, okay, either we go with one or the other, we go with a changed model. So as I said, there was a fair amount of work on in these type of way. The net outcome was a bottoms up kind of an approach towards product, processes, programs on one side, and a much more collective process in terms of deciding on people. So when we finally drew the organizational chart, nobody was surprised, not anybody felt it could be any different than what we did, and it was fair to everybody. So I think this issue about taking people along and not giving a sense of somebody dominating is quite critical. But probably the advantage we had, and probably the advantage that the public sector system as a whole has, is there is an identity of a public sector, part of being a public sector bank, which in some sense subsumes individual bank identity. And we should not give away, we should not look over this. In some sense, it makes things a lot easier. Right? We don't probably think and give credit to this, but I do think in all of these activities, there's a consciousness of being a part of a public sector institution. There's a consciousness of a part of being Bank of Baroda or Vijaya Bank or Punjab National Bank. But I do think it's at one level, there is a subsuming of identity.
That's a great point actually. I want to just say one more thing on this. When we say merger or takeover, whichever way, it all starts with how we communicate and at what levels we communicate. The merger had not happened, and the merger was due sometime in December or January of 19, and we were somewhere in August or September, and people were asking certain questions. I figured out from the grapevine that at IDFC Bank people have this doubt or that doubt. Now, I did not have an official locus standi to go and send an email to them or anything like that, saying that's what we think. So I actually called up CNBC one day and I said, I want to give an interview about this subject. They said, okay, please come. And then through that channel, over the air, there was an interview gone and people could see what is he really thinking about this issue. So that communication, what we write, what we speak informally, that is what we're going to build. If all of them are consistently aligned, then people see the truth behind it actually.
We'll take my last question and wrap up.
Yeah, more a comment in favor of Mr. Jayakumar than a question. I think the seamlessness with which this integration happened, more in terms of the communication which he alluded to, which actually gave answers of, from where it was coming. I think every branch that you walked into, from the time the announcement was made, till the time, whether it was BOB or the other two banks, I think for customers of these banks, it was seen to be believed. So, Mr. Jayakumar and team take a bow, and then may many more such mergers happen. Thank you.
Fantastic. Given you wanted to do one question, I will do that question now, since since I take that privilege. Who was the most difficult to deal with amongst your stakeholders? Press, shareholders, regulators, customers, employers, senior leaders? Who do you think gave you the toughest time? And maybe with that you can also offer some advice to people here thinking about mergers.
Well, my honest answer to this is that if our communication, like I said before, is sincere and straight, then dealing becomes really easy. In our case, I'm sure all people who went through the merger process of IDFC Bank and Capital First will tell you that I was always very consistent about what we're going to build. I said we're going to build India's best retail bank. We'll also do wholesale banking to the extent that our funding cost permits us. Otherwise, this is what we're going to build. By being straight like this, I left no one in any confusion. I didn't say that, okay, you're also important, and you're also important, also you're important. I would confuse everybody. So, by just being straight, I found it very easy. Employees were completely cooperative. Investors were amazing. In our case, we got, believe it or not, 2 listed companies, 800,000 shareholders. It's unprecedented that IDFC Bank shareholders voted 99.98% in favor. It's unprecedented. Capital First, 99.9% voted in favor. I don't know who's ever got such a dream mandate from 2 separate set of shareholders. So I felt therefore, similarly at RBI, I must say, they were very cooperative. I was seeing a small incident. In 2012, I went to get an approval for Capital First for FDI for 800 crores. At that time, rupee was sinking in 2012, inflation and all that. And it was pretty much a rough job to get approval because of many reasons. And I really had to struggle. This time around, getting approval process was far smoother. I believe that India's got a better place, easier place to do business over the last 5 years.
So no particular one,
No particular. My sense is that I've
actually
actually gotten better. Honestly, it was not that hard a job, really.
Okay.
I think it's about getting the best of everybody and aligning everybody to the common goal. So if you think you're going to handle all of the issues with respect to merger, then this surely would be an extremely difficult thing. As the gentleman was alluding to, from the branch all the way up and then all the way down, the work is distributed and shared, so then the problem of dealing with stakeholders is benign, if you will. So I didn't really have that kind of a challenge, but a lot of it is to do with proper preparation, engagement and support from the broader range of employees we have got, support from the CEOs of the predecessor organization and putting the context correctly. It's about how you communicate. For example, in all our communication, all the 3 banks are presented, the fonts are similar, the sizes are similar. Every little thing we did to make sure that here is a genuinely 3 institutions coming together. Our whole advertisement campaign also had the same theme. So I think a lot of these things obviously had to make things work, but I think it's about collectively getting everybody to work together that makes the job difficult or easy.
I'll give you one example of how to make it collective. We were thinking about, for example, what should be the new tagline for the bank? Okay, the new bank, it's IDFC First Bank. So what do we think? So one mail we sent to the top maybe 80, 100 people of the company, of the combined entity, saying that, okay guys, we got a new line. So someone said something first, somebody said always for you, somebody said keeping you ahead, somebody said something. But then finally, of course, we went with the theme called always you first, meaning always customer first. The point I'm trying to say is that people do get involved when we're making the brand. We get many options. So would come to my room, I'd show them, look, there are 20 options lying there. Do you like any of this color? Do you like this theme? So on and off, people are constantly participating in what we're creating. People enjoy it and almost feel they're part of the story, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Jayakumar. Thank you, Mr. Vaidyanathan. Please join me in applauding.